My reach and repertoire expands as I've got a sneaky source on the ground in Germany for Gamescom, and I'm bringing you some exclusive sneaky leaks that I think you're going to want to hear. They bode so well for Switch 2. Plus, we've got Opening Night Live, Jeff Keighley, Hollow Knight Silksong 2, and a lot more in store. What could Nintendo Switch 2 get this week? I'm going to give you my take based on what I know, and I'm going to fill you in on this sneaky leak. So what's going on, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce. Hit that like button if you're excited for more Switch 2 stuff. A system that seems to just, it's just dragging behind. Love Donkey Kong, love Mario Kart. Where are the announcements, and what can you expect from this week? Well, we already know that Nintendo has a glorious lineup of demos. Let's go through that real quick, all right? They got Metroid Prime 4 Beyond demo. They got Pokemon Legends ZA, which has already recently been demoed. They got Hades 2, Hollow Knight Silksong, Elden Ring Tarnished Edition, Borderlands 4, Final Fantasy VII Intergrade, DK Bonanza, Mario Kart World, Mario Party Jamboree, FIFA/FC 26, and Cyberpunk plus GameCube Virtual Console titles. Now, the first half of that list is to me very exciting because it's going to be the first hands-on for games like Elden Ring, Borderlands 4, Final Fantasy, and Hollow Knight Silksong. So I think you can expect a Hollow Knight Silksong date at this show. I think this is finally the place where you get it. Nintendo, I don't think they have the rights or the partnership for that date anymore. I think Hollow Knight Silksong will be dated via Microsoft, and they're like a ASUS, ROG, Microsoft, Xbox Ally partnership thing. But if you're a fan of Hollow Knight, as you should be, and you're waiting for it, this should finally be the moment. Getting gameplay of Elden Ring and Final Fantasy and Borderlands on Switch 2, though, is going to be paramount. Getting to see what those are like should be really, really exciting, and hopefully we get a date for at least one of the two big guns, right? We know Borderlands 4 is coming out a few weeks after the other consoles' versions. Elden Ring Tarnished Edition, no date. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, no date. If I had to bet my marbles, I would say it's much more likely that Elden Ring Tarnished Edition gets a date here than it is that Final Fantasy. And my reasoning for that is Final Fantasy was featured on that creator's voice thing on Nintendo's official YouTube. They seem to value their partnership with Square Enix very highly, and I could see Nintendo and Square talking to me like, dude, reveal this date at a Nintendo Direct as opposed to Gamescom. Because remember, while Gamescom does have a significant Nintendo and Nintendo Switch 2 presence, it's not like Nintendo is having a direct or a presentation. Jeff Keighley is doing Opening Night Live. We know that the games focused there are not Nintendo games, right? It's going to be things like Ghost of Yotei. It's going to be the Fallout TV show. It's going to be Call of Duty. It's going to be Resident Evil Requiem. Anyways, none of those really seem to be Nintendo related, and therefore this is not a Nintendo show. It is a games show that's going to heavily emphasize PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. It's just the way it's going to be. Now, we might get some cool third-party announcements. I could definitely see that happening. Hopefully, we get some dates of some already existing third-party games, like I just mentioned. But you're not going to get a big Nintendo announcement. This is not the place where you hear the Metroid Prime 4 Beyond release date. That's at a Nintendo Direct. Okay, this is not the place where you find out Kirby Air Rider's gameplay looks sick. This is not where Nintendo's going to do any first-party stuff, okay? I don't even know if the Metroid Prime 4 Beyond demo will be a different demo than what was initially previewed at the Nintendo Switch 2 Experience events. Because if you remember, way back in April, people got to play Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, and they got to do the opening segment and then that boss battle, right? Or at least just the opening segment. I think they got to do the boss battle too. It's what they showed on the Treehouse. It's the gameplay I've showed over the last, 4 months now? I'll be curious to see if it's a different demo. I'm 50-50 on if it's the same demo or a different demo. But regardless, it's good that it's there. It does mean that it's coming soon. These other games, Silksong date, I'm hoping for Elden Ring date. Final Fantasy date, I think it's up in the air. Could get it, could not. People are also talking about Xbox has such a heavy presence here. Could Xbox announce some of their stuff that's coming to Nintendo Switch? And maybe they could. Remember, in the past, Xbox has brought things like Pentiment and Grounded to Switch 1, and we're hoping for more on Switch 2. But I'm not sure how soon that's going to happen or what games are going to be there, and if Nintendo would want to own that moment. Would Nintendo want to show off, say, Grounded 2 on Switch 2 at a Nintendo Direct, or would Microsoft? Now, right now, I think it's more likely that Microsoft would, and so maybe there is a chance that Microsoft does say, hey, Grounded 2 is soon coming to Nintendo Switch 2, or maybe Microsoft says, they got any other games? I feel like their games are a little on the down low right now. I was going to say Hi-Fi Rush, but that's not, they booted that studio for who knows what reason. But maybe they'll have some announcement. I wouldn't hold your breath for a big Switch 2 announcement from Microsoft, but it's possible. I think in general, one of the potentially coolest things is going to be what I've heard from my source in Germany. Now, to be very clear, I have a photo of this, so I know that it is legit, at least legit in the sense of what I'm being told and what I'm about to describe to you. So what I've seen is the setup for Gamescom, and they're setting up the show floor. We know opening night live is on Tuesday, and then the show floor should kick off after that for the rest of the week. It's a big show, tons of people go, millions of people go, maybe not millions, hundreds of thousands of people go. It's very packed. But at the Resident Evil Requiem setup, okay, there's a big sign for Resident Evil Requiem, which is Resident Evil 9. We know it's releasing in early 2026, possibly my most anticipated game. And it's something I've said should come to Switch 2 because we should be getting all these big new games, right? Resident Evil games have been on Switch 1 in a cloud version, which, not going to settle for that. We need a cartridge-based Resident Evil Requiem. And in this photo, they are building Switch 2 demo stations right in front of the Resident Evil Requiem sign, okay? So, take that for what you will. I take that to mean there's a darn good chance that Resident Evil Requiem is going to be revealed for Nintendo Switch 2 at Gamescom, okay? Which is huge. That would be monumental, and it would show that a very high-powered, big game that we know already looks beautiful and is one of the most anticipated titles of 2026 is coming to our home system. Nintendo Switch 2. We can take it on the go, we can play it at home, and hopefully it runs pretty darn good. That would be a great endorsement from Capcom because, look, they didn't bring us Monster Hunter Wilds. They didn't feel like that was a fit for the Switch 2. I'm still currently shocked over that. But RE9 coming to Switch 2 would be a great sign for not only Capcom titles, but for everybody else, right? All the others in the area of third-party AAA titles being like, dude, Capcom can do it, we can do it. Nintendo is talking, securing, and locking up big multi-platform titles, and that's huge, right? That's not an old game. That's not a cloud version. That's Resident Evil Requiem, which is going to be so freaking sick if it's anything like 7 or 8, and I'm insanely pumped for it. Now, I will tell you that the only other thing I could think of this being, right? Again, big stage of Resident Evil Requiem, Nintendo Switch 2 demo stations. Are they bringing older versions of Resident Evil to the Switch 2, and they're just using that stage and that area as sort of the grounds to demo these titles, right? That's something that could be as well. Like, could Capcom walk up and be like, come play Resident Evil 9 Requiem on PlayStation 5 and then demo Resident Evil Village on Switch 2? They could. Okay, that is a possibility. And I want to give you like a 70-30 belief in my eyes, right? I'm being totally honest with you. 70% tells me that it's going to be Resident Evil Requiem announced for Switch 2, and boom, we're getting that big game. And 30% of me, which is not nothing, right? It's a substantial portion. It's less than half, but still substantial, is like Capcom actually is bringing Resident Evil Village to Nintendo Switch 2, which would still be a fun get, but it's nowhere near as important, or honestly what should happen, which is Resident Evil 9, right? We're tired of the Switch being the system that gets these older games. We're tired of the Switch being the system that just gets your sloppy seconds, right? We want Switch to get the real deal. We want Switch to get the big games. And I think that it could. All right, I'm hoping that this leak does pan out to be Resident Evil Requiem and not Resident Evil Village. But I'm telling you, there are Switch 2 stuff being prepped for Resident Evil based on my source in Germany at Gamescom, ready to roll. So that is some exclusive info for you. Like I said, in my leaker era, I'm going to continue to bring you guys quality information, and I'm going to continue to tell you how it is truthfully honest and what I believe. So this is your Nintendo Switch 2 setup for the week. Some cool demos. We'll get to see some great gameplay. Wouldn't expect anything huge. Nothing from Nintendo first party. Probably a date for either Elden Ring or Final Fantasy VII. And then hopefully some spooky, scary zombies on our Switch 2. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. What game are you most excited to see on Switch 2? And would you be pumped? And does it bode well for the future if Nintendo was able to secure Resident Evil Requiem on their platform? Let me know your take. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. We'll enjoy Gamescom, and I'll be covering the whole week. Anything that happens, anything that surprises. Oh, yeah. Also Silksong, because goodness gracious, please just finally give us that date. They're going to. I think they will. It's got to be now. It's got to be now. It's now or never. Till next time, SwitchForce out.